Go ahead and call F&A meeting together to order. Please note, President, I do not see.
Just joined. She needs to be promoted.
Okay, there we go. We will forego that. Please note attendance of the council members, both in person and online, and staff members as appropriate. Let's go ahead and start in on the agenda. First item of the agenda will be agenda approval. Are there any omissions or corrections on the agenda? You okay, Councilor Johnson? Are you okay, Councilman Christensen?
Yep, that's fine. Thanks.
All right, so we'll proceed forward with the agenda as presented. First agenda up is public comments. Anyone in the council chambers wishing to make public comments for the committee? See when nobody raised their hand or move to the dais, we'll go on. Just note, we do not take online public comments. Send us an email. We do get those. All right, let's move on then to approval of the minutes dated September 3rd, 2025. Chair has no questions or revisions. Councilman Johnson, do you have any questions or comments? No. All right. Councilman Christensen, are you okay with the minutes?
Yep, I'm fine. Thanks.
Okay. If there are no objections, we will move forward with the minutes as presented as approved. Hearing no objections, they are approved. Let's move on to the approval of warrants and claims. Consideration of claims report dated September 22nd, 2025. Chair has received no emails with questions from other council members, nor do I personally have any questions or clarifications that I need. Councilman Johnson, how about yourself? You're good? Councilman Christensen, any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Unless there are objections, we'll take the claims report as presented as approved. No objections, we'll go ahead and move forward. Let's move on to Agenda Bill 25084, City Personnel Policy Handbook. I'm not going to read the introduction and summary at this stage. Is there somebody to brief this? Tell us about it.
Okay, so this is the new personnel policy manual that
Oh, wait a minute, I'm not sure we're getting.
Oh. Good. So this is the new personnel policy manual that I have been working on in collaboration with almost every person in the city, I think, all directors. I've spent a lot of time with our employment attorneys as well as our city attorney, city administrator. Personnel policies hadn't been updated since 2012. There were some other policies that had kind of been updated in bits and pieces over the years or adopted as separate policies. But the entire manual itself had not been fully reviewed and updated in some time. So it did take quite a while for this to happen. We did kind of go through and look at every policy within the manual, as well as the additional policies that you'll see in the appendix. There were a number of employment laws that have changed in the last 13 years, a number of leave laws, different things, in regards to hiring. We've changed how we've handled unrepresented employees and the switch to PTO, the state PFML program, just a few examples of things that were not addressed in the previous manual. Operationally, we had been handling those things, but there was nothing documented as to how we were, going through those processes. So my intent for this manual was to, like I said, work collaboratively with everybody to get most things in one document. And so that's why you'll see the personnel policies on the beginning of it, and then the appendix, different policies to address those things as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Hopefully you've had a chance to look through it. I know it's long.
And then unions have reviewed it as well.
Yes, yep, this has gone through. I met with the Teamsters Union. They were the one that requested to meet and kind of go through it together. But I also had sent it to the fire union and police union as well, and had received either no comment or an okay from them.
What, non-travel refreshments, is that alcoholic and non-alcoholic?
No, it would be like coffee and soda
Okay.
and things like that, yeah. That policy, in a previous section says that we don't cover any sort of alcohol or anything like that,
Okay.
yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still definitely in the process of digesting it because it is a pretty big document. But I was curious, to what extent does the crosswalk that we do have cover the changes? It sounds like the changes are more substantial than what's covered in that table.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so those are just examples.
those are examples of
Right.
like where there may be some minimal financial impact. But the majority of the updates were changes to laws. And like I said, a lot of like leave laws and things like that. So the majority of things were not necessarily a financial change or financial impact. Those were listed here as what might be minimal. But the majority of the changes were not anything regarding money.
And if we were to have a crosswalk that covered the extent of all the changes, what proportion would what we have here be of that entire list? Is this like 10% of the changes? Is it 1% of the changes? Is it 50%?
These changes here, I would say are probably maybe 1 to 5% of the
That's kind of the
changes.
sense that I was getting.
Yeah, yeah.
But these are the ones that would have the largest, pull this closer, there you go. But these are the ones that would have the largest financial impact.
If there was to be any financial
Right.
impact, yes, this is where they would be. And these are all, most of them
Yeah.
are like the non-travel, the travel refreshments. Those are all in the updated travel and training, travel and meal policy. You'll see some of these things were not addressed at all, but they certainly have been things that have come up operationally or questions that we've been asked. And so that's why we wanted to be able to offer clarity to employees, and consistency in how we're handling things.
Councilman Christensen, you have a question?
I do. So for section, this is 2.236B, firearms and weapons in the workplace. It says that this, did you catch it? Sorry.
Yep, I actually flipped right to that
Okay.
page. So.
Okay, okay. It says the city strictly prohibits firearms, knives, and other dangerous weapons on city premises or in city vehicles. And then it goes on for a bit and it says, unless otherwise required by law or as permitted by this policy, no employee is authorized to carry a weapon concealed or not on city premises, in city vehicles, or while representing the city or conducting business on behalf of the operator. I didn't see any exclusions for law enforcement on there. And I just didn't know offhand whether they'd be covered under the unless otherwise required by law.
Yep, that's
So
exactly.
I just wanted to raise that.
Yes, yep, that's exactly where that would be addressed. And we also, in the second sentence, wanted to recognize, that we have some folks, like say Parks and Public Works employees, that do need to carry some type of what could be considered, a weapon. And so we wanted to make sure we address that. But yes, the police, would be the unless otherwise required by law.
Okay, all right, thanks. Yeah, I didn't know if they were required to carry weapons, and whether that provided for the things that they would have on them,
Mhm.
including the tasers and stuff like that.
Yep.
And then I have some other questions for the city attorney, but I can ask those at a different time.
That conversation.
Oh, I did have one more. So under nepotism, it talks about familiar, and this is 2.11.
Mhm.
And it says, for the purposes of a familial relationship, including but not limited to persons who reside in the same household or a consensual union that is not a legal marriage or a registered domestic partnership, and 2 persons who are involved in a romantic or dating relationship, regardless of whether they cohabitate. I just wasn't sure offhand because I have not reviewed a lot of employment manuals, especially not like this one. Is that usually called out in a separate section, or is it usually included in nepotism?
That is usually covered in nepotism. That was one thing that I spoke with Peter, who you've all met, for
Uh-huh.
our employment attorney, that he agreed that this would be the place to put that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I just thinking is trying to think through like what could be things that could cause us issue and like are they included in here? That was one of the things that raised a flag for me. And just because I didn't see it in the table of contents, I just wasn't sure if that was standard practice, but if it is, then that is fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
City Administrator, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just want to go back to the crosswalk. So in my conversations with Jana prior to it proceeding to this point, she was calling out things that had the potential
Mhm.
of a financial impact, not the highest or anything else. Anything that had the potential, either way, she was calling them out.
So follow up to that.
Hmm?
Follow up to that then.
Yeah, go ahead.
So then, would I be correct to assume then that, there's no reasonable expectation that other changes that are not in the crosswalk would have a financial impact?
I'm running through about 100 state law changes right now
Right.
in my head.
Yeah.
And
So
I mean, I would say that some of the PFMLA changes would have a financial impact,
Hmm.
but that was decisions made in Olympia that we have no control over.
Right, so they're gonna happen either way.
They're happening either way.
yes, and that's what I was gonna say as well, because you'll see in the manual, we did some very recent updates for legislation that just came through this summer. And so some of those things do not go into effect until January. Some of them are January of 2027. So those were all just, we wanted to capture them now. But, you know, they have the potential for sure. There's definitely a more generous PFMLA, you know, policies coming through. That again, like Mike said, you know, we don't have any control over that, but they certainly could impact us operationally. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm having a hard time with the prior conversation. Leavenworth has this Swiss village. If we wanted to become the Shire in the Valley,
Some of,
we're legally not allowed to have our officers without guns?
I'm not familiar with RCWs that well, but I believe you would be.
Would be legally not allowed? Or
No, you
would
would
be allowed?
be legally
Okay,
to
so I may
have.
want to look at that section because it's not,
We
not that
will.
I'm suggesting we become the Shire in the Valley, but
If you wanted to have bobbies, I think you would be allowed to have bobbies, which are unarmed
Okay.
police in England.
and nor am I suggesting our police should be unarmed at this stage.
But
But-
I do need to check the RCWs.
Okay.
I do know that our police department has policies requiring what equipment our police officers have when they exit the door of the police station to go on duty, and it is required in those policies. For
Right,
safety
and
equipment.
there's probably some standards from state that say
Correct.
this is too, but whether it's an RCW that says
I don't think it's
your
RCW.
officers must be, but you may want to soften that to say, you know, required in the carrying out of their job responsibilities requires a weapon.
Mhm.
Get it?
We could certainly
Correct.
make an
I'm
adjustment.
sorry, and I'm being picky. It was just,
Yeah.
it bounced around the back of my head. All right. All right, any other questions? We'll move, the intent is to move this on to council.
Yes.
All right, and does staff have preference of consent or non-consent?
We always like consent. You
All right.
asked.
Once I get through reading it, I may have other questions and we can
Right.
deal with it at that stage. But for right now, I have no problem with it going for consent, but it's a big thing to go through, so we'll see if it survives consent. I'm just not guaranteeing. All right, thank you. Good discussion.
is adopted by resolution, right?
Correct.
Motion.
It was a motion.
Yeah, it's adopted by motion.
Okay, so we don't even need a resolution then.
Just a motion.
It's just a motion.
Yeah, no.
Second.
Okay.
It's just a motion by council to adopt the policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's okay on consent. All right, with that, I think that concludes the agenda bills for this discussion. Let's move on to Finance Department update.
Hello and good evening, Council. Thank you for having me here today. The goal is to provide you with a Finance Department status update. I think the last one has probably been May or June of this year for the most part. And so we just want to kind of talk about some of the things that we're working on within the department that you may not necessarily be that familiar with right now. So with that said, I'm really going to kick it off. And hopefully you can see, actually, I'm not sharing my screen, am I? Okay. Stop that. My apologies. All right, now let's go up. So anyway, we're going to start off with an enterprise ERP status update. And so we're going to talk about the project accounting and contract management modules that we're currently working on right now. We're going to talk a little bit about phase 2, which is human capital management. Probably recall from earlier this year, we had wrapped up payroll as well as the time and attendance executive, or not executive time, exec time, basically that allows people to enter in information regarding on their time cards into a system that then flows into our payroll module. I'm also going to touch upon utility billing and where we intend to go with that. And lastly, last but not least, I'm going to talk a little bit about the business tax program as well. So with that said, just to start off with, this is just a little kind of diagram or chart for the most part, talking about the stages or milestones that we've achieved during our phase 1 of this project regarding the financials overall. What you'll notice is there quite a bit has been completed or closed out overall. And some of these were kind of at the stage of end user training, hoping to make some transitions eventually as well. In addition to that, you'll see some of these modules that we had purchased initially that we have crossed off because we don't intend to implement that. As a result of that, those will be subscription charges that we're no longer incurring at the city as a result. Right now, we are focused on these 2 modules right here, project and grant accounting, as well as contract management. And what we've done recently is we've made progress from the initiate and plan stage all the way to the prepare solution stage. So we are right now smack dab in the middle of trying to get these 2 modules up and running for the most part, and we hope to be wrapped up on these 2 modules in November. This has required a tremendous amount of work, especially for our project manager, Jana, who's been responsible for a lot of this. We've also had a number of people in the finance departments such as Jen here, and over there that we'll introduce to you in just a second as well, participate in this project as well. What you're seeing in front of us is what we're trying to implement in terms of project accounting. What we first started off doing is diagramming how the process is going to look for the most part, where the approvals come into play. And our goal eventually is to accomplish this kind of roadmap that we have here in front of you today. A lot of what we're doing in terms of project accounting will influence what we do with accounts receivable and accounts payable, and they will be interacting together as we kind of proceed forward. In addition to that, we've got a process map for grants as well, and we hope to incorporate grants into our enterprise resource planning system as well. These will tie back to the projects too, so that we're associating those grants with those projects and not having to handle that or do that manually. What's also important to this is how do we integrate Laserfiche, which is another program and really our system of retention into our ERP system as well, and how is that going to flow from Laserfiche in terms of a grant into our ERP system, and then eventually help us with our reporting and tracking mechanisms that we need to accomplish as well. In terms of contracts are a little bit more complicated because we've got purchasing thresholds that we have to consider as well. And so as you can see, the process map is a little bit more complicated here. But our intention across all 3 of these areas is to really implement these process maps that you have here. And that is what we're working on constantly every week for the most part, is set up the proper workflows, set up the proper permissions, make sure that we're entering in those contracts, entering all projects that we have, entering all grants into the system as well. And that's the progress that we're making right now. Our next full day session for these 2 modules is on September the 23rd. We're going to continue to import projects, grants, and contracts into the system. Testing and validation is also really critical to this. So we're not doing this in our production environment, but we're doing this in our testing environment. Eventually, we will be transitioning a lot of this into our production environment, in essence, doing some things twice for the most part. And so that is kind of where we're at right now, is at this kind of let's see, I forgot the name, preparing the solution stage, making progress towards that testing and validation stage next. The end result of both the project accounting module as well as the contract management module is to help support the city as well as the department with our financial tracking and our financial reporting overall. So imagine the stronger tracking of encumbrances. You can probably see the agenda bills that we produce. Jana is often producing a budget table at the end of that. That takes considerable amount of time to actually produce to get those tables into the agenda bill. The ability to go into a system and extract that from the system without having to go locate invoices, for example, making sure that you've collected all the proper contracts, putting that into a spreadsheet and then manually trying to calculate what is the project budget left over. To have a system do that will help us out tremendously. In addition to that, it will help us with council reporting as well. So one of the things that generally kind of gone missing during this transition phase, I would say overall, is we need to probably do a better job of providing you with quarterly updates on CIP progress or progress, reports on our overall progress on the projects and how much we've been spending against those project budgets overall. We set up our, what we've needed to in terms of appropriations overall, but coming back to council and saying, okay, this is where we stand in terms of our total project budget would be very valuable in terms of your assessment of the city's financial condition overall. And so what we're doing in terms of this system is trying to kind of reach that stage where the tracking is much more efficient, but then as well as the reporting is much more efficient and much more of a common feature overall as part of our goal to present to you. So that's what you can expect, as well as council ideally will get better financial reports. In addition to that, it will help us with our financial statements ourselves. So in terms of grants, for example, we often have to produce several schedules for the state auditor's office. That includes Schedule 15 and Schedule 16. One is a federal grant schedule that we have to produce, and the other one is for the state. Right now, we are being audited on one allocation from the state, and that was the Snoqualmie Parkway appropriation that we had received right now. And having this information at our fingertips would help us to be able to facilitate those conversations with the state auditor's office a lot more nimbly and ably. So with that said, we do have some goals to try to close out 25 and 26. So we're working through our biennial work plan overall. In terms of our accounting team, we're hoping to eventually establish a decentralized AP and general billing processes in our enterprise ERP that would incorporate departments in the entry and approval invoices. We intend to convert the daily bank reconciliation process, which is right now very, very manual, from our current manual spreadsheet system to the bank reconciliation manager inside enterprise ERP. Establishing a purchasing card program within the city that connects to the purchase card program in the enterprise ERP, and then set up the vendor access program, which would allow vendors to pay their invoices through a payment portal. So in essence, having another payment system where, if you're, who knows, North Bend, for example, I'm just trying to call recent examples, or, the hospital, for example, then instead of having to write a check to us, you'd be able to go into that payment portal system and pay it there, providing the invoice number and so on. In terms of team budget, we hope to complete the following 3 modules. I mentioned project and grant accounting as well as the contract management module, but also there's a focus on analytics and reporting to help set up those reports so that we can, with a click of the button, produce a report and ideally get that to either our staff members, but as well as council. And then support the transition of our business licensing and B&O tax program to a new solution. So right now we don't have a business licensing and B&O tax program under contract. That was not a part of the original contract with Tyler Technologies for this ERP system. Right now, it would be the last thing that we would want to get out of the current legacy system that we have right now. Right now, we don't have a solution for that as we speak. So we're hoping to figure that out in the days and weeks ahead. In terms of human capital management, which was phase 2 of the total project, as we mentioned earlier this year, we have completed the payroll module as well as the time and attendance module. What's different here is regarding human resources and recruiting. So the human resources division has spoken to Tyler. They've gone through a couple sessions and determined that it really would not be beneficial to them right now to pursue these 2 modules. And so as a result, we have canceled the subscriptions for those two modules overall. With utility billing, which is phase 3, our goal is to complete these modules before the end of the biennium. Our kickoff planned for this is early next year. What Tyler has told us is it will take a good year for us to actually get this finished from start to finish. What we've been doing currently right now is we've been trying to really focus on the system and how we can, as it's currently is, make sure that the data is clean as possible at this stage. So over the past several months, we have transitioned to an updated rate schedule based on council's recent approval of the utility rates. As we talked about in Parks and Public Works a little bit, transition to a new credit card processor, which we are not fully quite there yet because we do have some customers that have not transitioned to that new credit card processor. We are working to transition from zones to a fully metered system for reclaimed water. It's a very complicated system that we currently have in place regarding zones. In essence, the total of the base rate is allocated among the reclaimed water zones in the city's computer-controlled irrigation system. And we're hoping to move to a fully metered system on that. But it's a system in which one guy maintains that, not at the city, but a vendor elsewhere who is set to retire. So it's important for us to make that transition before he officially retires. In addition to that, we have spent some time cleaning up our state returns. So the taxes that we remit to the state. And we have worked to correct utility tax overpayments. So it was relatively a small dollar amount, but it consisted of 5 billing cycles. And this was sometime around March, April, May, in that time frame. And last but not least, and probably the most time consuming overall, has been utility account reconciliation. So this is making sure that the meters on the ground actually match what is in the utility billing system as we currently have that constructed within our legacy system. I'm happy to report to you that at least 96, 97% have matched, but we do have some meters that don't quite match what's currently in the system right now, and we will have to work towards reconciling those two and making sure that they are corrected before we enter into the new system. So that is what we're doing right now in terms of our utility meters, rates, and service transitions before we enter into this transition to the new ERP system for utility billing. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Jen, our Deputy Finance Director, for the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew, and good evening. I'm excited to be able to provide an update related to our accounting operations. I'm going to start with staffing. First, introducing Ann Bacher, who started on August 1st as the city's accountant. We are very excited to have her join the team.
Yay.
We've made significant strides in the finance department in building a strong and capable team, and we're grateful to HR to helping with our recruitments. We're proud to say that we have the right people in the right positions that are excelling, but also generally thriving in them. They're perfect for their roles. And to support the hiring of the top talent, we've been also introducing skills-based testing for our last 2 recruitments. This has been instrumental in just helping us identify candidates with practical knowledge, but also that aptitude to be able to contribute immediately. We are a smaller finance team, so we've been really focusing on being able to cross-train and develop an SOP library so that we are able to maintain all of our operations and ensure that everything runs smoothly, regardless of whether people are on vacation or other types of absences that may occur. The workload with everything that Drew just presented, it has been intense to say the least. I definitely feel that our team and their motivation and dedication has been outstanding. So I certainly want to recognize them and all of their efforts. This pace is not sustainable long-term, but it definitely has been critical in us being able to catch up on a lot of the foundational type items that we need to be able to complete on a daily basis. I'm going to say a word that I think makes a lot of us shudder, and that's audits. Typically, audits don't make you feel the warm and fuzzies, but we are getting ready to start our 2024 state audit with the state auditors with the goal to conclude by the end of the year. With that, we also will be wrapping this week the 2022 and 2023 state audits, which is a huge milestone for the city. We have historically been behind for years in completing these audits, and so I feel that catching up has been a significant shift just towards the accountability, but also the transparency for the community. Equally important, and I don't want to overpromise and under-deliver. I will be much more happy when I get the official state auditor report in our hands, but we have verbally been told that there will be no findings or management letters for 2022 or 2023, which a clean audit record not only reflects well on the city's financial practices, but also positively impacts our eligibility for grants and just the city's overall financial reputation. Another audit that we are currently undergoing is our leasehold tax audit. This is conducted by Washington State Department of Revenue. This is very fast-paced. They have communicated that they expect this to wrap within 4 weeks, which causes us to pretty much drop everything else and produce a lot of information. Parks and Public Works has been a huge resource for this and helping us just produce the information that we need to give over to them. So that's another thing that, is taking up a lot of time and effort. We will be bringing forward to council in the upcoming weeks a business license update. This is also required by legislation that has changed, and we are just waiting on AWC to complete their model ordinance so that we are able to adopt that as well. With everything that Drew shared related to the ERP, again, just emphasizing that we have been deploying all of these, and with all of these modules, it also causes changes in just regular processes that we have. So our day-to-day operations within our legacy system was conducted one way. When you go to a new system, you're not able to keep your processes completely the same. So we've been maintaining those day-to-day operations while also making minor tweaks to the ways that we just produce the work and enter the work. So it's produced additional time and efforts to make sure that everything has been entered. But despite the pressure, the team has shown incredible resilience and adaptability to all of this. And I'm just happy to say that the light at the end of the tunnel is getting brighter every day. We are getting that much closer to being caught up and being able to produce some of those reports and push out these different modules.
Chair.
Oh, yeah.
So can you clarify, you mentioned we were behind in the audits, but we weren't behind in the audits, right? We've been waiting for the state auditor office to do the annual audits.
That
Is
is
that
correct, yes. So the state auditor was behind. They did not necessarily prioritize us. And I would say that, it requires a lot of time and effort and staff to be able to dedicate to these. So the timing is synced up, and being able to stay current is fantastic.
And nice job. I know you guys been jumping through hurdles to get everything done. So nice job. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you, council, just for the continued support as we work through these.
All right, thank you, Jen. And now I just want to talk a little bit about the budget. Team Janet's not here right now, so I'm going to try to handle this on her behalf. So I think council understands that we've been generally well focused on financial transparency and trying to produce more information for council. As Janet mentioned, I think at the last F&A committee meeting, we did produce the quarterly reports for 2024. She has a focus on 2025 and getting those up going as well. All this is she's upstream of Jen and the work that the financial operations team is doing. And I know they've been working really, really hard to try to get us as caught up as much as they possibly can. We don't necessarily want to always have to produce estimates, but often a little bit that's what we're doing, is producing those estimates. And so the more accurate information that we have at our fingertips, the less margin of error that we'll have in those reports, I think, overall, and the more confidence council can have in what we're producing. So I want to thank your team, Jen, and everything that everyone's doing, and as well for their service and trying to get us up to speed. We do have a mid-biennial budget review coming up as well. This is a mandatory review by RCW. And so as a consequence of that, we'll be focused on providing you with a financial forecast as well as an economic update. In essence, the goal by the end of this is to approve a budget amendment. Jana will be working on developing what those budget amendments would potentially look like. And we will be consulting with the departments too, just in case there's anything that they may want to potentially have a conversation with council on about before adopting that budget amendment. Keep in mind that this is a 1 2-year budget. It's not 2 1-year budgets. So we are not producing a new budget for 26. We've already done that. So in essence, this is hopefully going to be a minor modification to that, not necessarily reopening everything that we've discussed last year, for example. But the goal is to provide you with enough information to assess where we are currently financially overall. And if we do need to make adjustments just based on this past year's history, now would be the time to do that. So expect that coming about November, December. In addition, you'll also see your property tax ordinances at that time as well. In addition to that, Jana has been focused on a comprehensive fee study. And not only has Jana been focused on that, but also the departments have played an integral role to that as well. There's approximately 350 different fees included as a part of this study, which is quite a bit, but that's a lot of fees that we have in the code for the most part. And in addition to that, they've been providing time estimates, developing those time estimates from the interviews that they've been conducting with staff as well. And then we've had some back and forth with staff and the consultant too to make sure that those are really honed in critically. Right now, we've been waiting for one person to come back who came back today. With the information he's supplying to the consultant, they should be able to work on producing a finalized or at least a draft report at this stage before we bring it to council. Our goal is to bring that to you on October the 27th for a presentation. Fortunately, not at the roundtable, because at that roundtable on that date, we intend to have the exit conference for the 22 and 23 audit engagement. So you can expect a couple financial items coming to you on that date. In terms of some other topics that you've seen fairly recently, so the public safety sales tax, we hope to eventually bring that back to council. But then also it's been requested of us to produce a affordable housing funding conversation as well in front of the CD committee. And so those will be coming as well towards the end of the year that will hopefully meet some of the priorities of council as we head on off into 2026. So with that said, I just want to thank you for your time and attention, and happy to open it up to any questions that you might have for Jen and I.
Councilor Jones?
With regard to the public safety sales tax, I actually was expecting a little bit more of that tonight. Is there any particular reason that we're not looking at that again tonight? Or is the intent to just do it sometimes later?
Well, so
let me just back up. So what I recall was that at our last council meeting, staff actually did have information ready for us back then. And we said, okay, you work your way back to us, let it cook a little longer. I was just wondering if there's anything in particular that had come up or anything.
I'd say I don't think we've had enough time collectively we certainly had a presentation, but I think based on the feedback maybe received at that council meeting, that it would be best for us to get back together and actually review to make sure that that is sufficient for what you need.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. That makes sense.
And I think in the meantime, they were submitting for qualifications.
Right.
And getting feedback from there.
Yeah, my understanding was it wasn't an issue of timing. That we've got time to let this roll out.
I have no other hands up. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you, Jen. All right. The other items are future discussions. Okay, there we go. So we'll go look at council agenda. Monday, September 27th, 2025. We'll start with a roundtable agenda, which will be an executive session, 2 executive sessions at this stage. Okay, and then we'll start our regular agenda at 7 o'clock. Pledge of Allegiance, public hearings, presentation. We'll have a presentation from King County Search and Rescue Association. And then we'll have proclamations, proclamation of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Fire Prevention Week, and Hindu Heritage Month. And then we'll do public comments for items not on the agenda, and consent agenda. We'll have city council meeting minutes dated September 8th, approval of claims report. I think we will also have the two items out of Public Works.
One item out of Public Works and one item from F and A.
Yeah, well, the handbook from here and what was the other item? Vehicles.
The vehicles.
I thought we actually did both those.
It's non-consent.
Just the vehicles.
Okay. All right, so we'll bring those up, and that'll be the consent agenda. Public Safety Committee at present has nothing, Community Development Committee has nothing. Public Works will then have the Kimball Creek Lift Station,
Correct.
as their agenda item. F&A currently has, no policy, discussion. I would like an item in committee whole of, council appointments. And continue that discussion.
That liaison appointments?
Yeah, liaison appointments. And after that, we have a third, or is that a hold, just in case we don't get done at 7 o'clock? So hold, in case we get done at 7 o'clock, second session at the end of the evening. All right. Are there any other adjustments or questions in regards to that agenda for council next week?
So I do have one for you. Are you going to start working on your legislative priorities?
Well, we can start, while not, why don't we bring that into here next meeting, and then we'll bring that to the council after that. But yeah, we can start working that. Okay. Councilor Johnson?
One of the questions with regard to the hold, is there any reason to not include the first executive session topic? Like, are we pretty sure that we'll wrap that one up in the roundtable and not have to carry over? Okay.
We foresee finishing the first one and hopefully finishing the second one and being done.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments or questions with regard to the council agenda? All right, with so noted changes, we'll move forward with that council agenda for next Monday. Any other items come before the committee this evening? If not, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Carrie, there you go.
I just had to get my mute back off.
Couldn't do it fast enough.
Having that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.